Hello travelers, Boardman21 here, and today we're just 3 days away from 1.0 going live. Oh boy, February 21st is just around the corner, and today we got some new items and affixing coming to last Epoch this Wednesday when it does launch. So let's take a look at some of these new item bases, new implicits, and new affixes coming for the new masteries and all of the classes. So we got, for the new boot bases, there are two new boost item types that are coming. We have the Vanguard boots and Citadel boots. There will also be two other boots that have implicit changes as well, and then for these two boots you can get reduced damage taken from critical strikes, which is huge. You can get up to 50% on this. If this rolls on another piece of gear, which we'll see below, you should be able to not have to roll critical strike avoidance as an actual affix on any of your gear, or go roll the Reign of Dragon's Blessing, which could definitely change the way that you put together your build planner. And then of course for the Vanguard boots, we have increased effect of haste on you up to 50%, which is huge. That is a big boost to your movement speed as well, and just as an implicit, which is pretty big. We got some new glove bases. We have the Ascetic gloves and we have the Arcane bracers. Arcane bracers is coming with increased mana regen, and the Ascetic gloves is giving us cooldown, up to 12% cooldown reduction for your skills, which is pretty big. For the belts, we've got three new belts here. We've got the Divine Girdle, the Praetorian belt, and the Chain belt. And the Chain belt, which belts have been lacking implicits for the longest time. Most of them only gave armor, and that was it. So now we get some more interesting things. So like the Divine Girdle here is giving us increased move speed. The Praetorian belt is again giving us armor, but much higher roll than what you can currently get. You can get up to 250 armor on this. And the Chain belt is giving you ward decay threshold, which is also pretty big. So at least we're getting some interesting belt affixes or implicits. That's more than what we've had in the game, which is currently the choice basically just between how much armor you're going to get. And then we have some new helm bases. The new armor sets means new implicits. Taking a look at a few of the helms. First is the Mage's new Tyrant Crown, offering elemental damage leeches health, which is huge. Unfortunately, this is an end game unique. You can't wear it till level 75. Which means you're not going to be able to get that leech early in the game to feel really good through the campaign. But as an end game item, that's pretty cool. We have the Blood Visual, which gives us increased damage over time and bleed duration. This is for rogues, which is obviously going to be really powerful if you're playing a bleed build for any of the masteries there. And then for the Acolyte, you have the Necropolis Helm, which gives ward decay threshold and ward gain on kill. And if you're like me, the low life Acolytes that I play, I definitely build it around wards, so that could be very useful as well. And then we have some new body armor bases. Here we have three more teasers here. We have the Apocalypse Plate for the Sentinel, which gives stun avoidance, a huge amount of flat armor. And then increased echo damage when a skill is echoed, which can roll up to 130%, which is pretty big, which means you may not need to roll that on your idols, or as a prefix, as a rare class specific affix on your gear. You can just get it as an implicit on chest, which is really big. Then the Primalist body armor, we have the Beast Mail. Gives a ton of armor, gives move speed, and also gives you flat health regen, which is really nice. And then for the Coven robes for the Acolyte, we have cast speed as well as mana regen, and it's actually a pretty decent amount of mana regen, rolling up to 29% there, which is pretty cool. And then we have some new affixes. It's also going to bring 12 new general weapon affixes, with several classes receiving new and updated skills. We've also added an additional 33 idle, body armor, helmet, and relic affixes to find in last Epoch. That's a total of 45 new affixes. So if you thought that you had too many affixes to look through for your crafting options already, you're about to get 45 more of them, which is absolutely crazy. So for weapon affixes, one area of feedback they've received is the lack of effective stats on weapons for some builds, and in particular minion builds. To help address this, we're adding a few new affixes. Covering 10 of the 12 new weapon affixes, we're looking at two groups of suffixes you will be able to find on several weapon types. Increased minion damage is a stat which is fairly high supply in last Epoch, where minion flat damage is quite rare. So to make the weapon affix feel more impactful, we've changed the minion damage suffixes to offer flat damage to minions instead of increased damage. That is absolutely huge. So instead of increased minion physical damage, minion spell damage, and minion dot damage, you can now instead get actual flat damage for bow. For spell, you can get penetration for them. You can also get added melee damage, I'm assuming. That's actually pretty incredible. You can now scale flat damage on your weapons for minion builds, along with penetration. So not only flat damage, but also a more modifier. That's pretty big. Very excited for that. I think that's going to change a lot of minion builds, and if you ever felt like your minion was underwhelming on damage, you're going to be able to scale it much better now. Especially since you can get so much increases elsewhere, you never really needed the increase on the weapon. So again, that flat damage could be huge. I'm curious how high those will roll. We got some class-specific affixes. With the new masteries and skills coming on the 21st, we're also adding a number of relevant class-specific affixes. We've offered a selection of number of these affixes that we can look forward to seeing below. And for the Warlock affixes, we have some idols with the sickening prefix, increased damage over time while you have an ailment overload. That's pretty cool. For body armor, % increased spirit frequency with 𝐁𝐿 Fissure. The helm gives a % for additional projectiles when we directly cast chaos bolts. And for the relic, plus level to profane veil and increased damage over time. And as you can see here on these, that's actually pretty cool that you get increased damage over time while you have an overload active. The 𝐁𝐿 Fissure seems like you can really get it spitting out spirits really fast. Chaos bolts, all those extra projectiles with it. I'm not sure how many you can actually have in the skill tree at the moment. I know you can build into additional ones, but here's a way to get even more at a 35% rate. I'm curious how high that will actually roll. Not sure what tier this is. And then here we have a tier 5 profane veil for 2 levels for it with increased damage over time. That's pretty cool. Some good ways to build around the new Warlock class. And its skills. Falconer Affixes. We have the idol with Scattering Suffix, increased area with Caltrops, chance to shred armor on hit. We have the Winged Prefix with chance to deal double damage with Falcon Strikes. For the helm, we have increased damage with Dive Bomb and increased area with Dive Bomb. And for body armor, you have plus level to Explosive Trap and increased throwing damage. Remember, these are not all of the ones coming. These are just some examples that they are giving us, which is pretty big. So definitely going to have some ways to build around the new skills for sure, especially if you're planning on playing Falconer. For the Primalist, we have the new skill Gathering Storm, which is replacing Ice Thorns. The idle Reckoning prefix, % increased frequency of expanding Storm Strikes. We have the body armor of plus level to Gathering Storm, increased area for area skills, and the helm, % chance to gain a storm stack when you use Gathering Storm and hit an enemy. So definitely some ways to build around your Gathering Storm if you plan on using it. As a new skill, we definitely are going to want to try it out. And then we got some new uniques. And lastly, today we're taking a look at some of the new unique items to look forward to in just a few days. This shield offers a new way to create a retaliation build by granting shield throwing damage based on your damage reflected, as well as a chance to retaliate with shield throw when you block. So first up, we have the 𝐁𝐿 Reprisal, and this comes with block chance, increased physical damage, +3 to shield throw, 28% chance to retaliate with shield throw on block. That does have a half-second cooldown, even more block chance on it, so you're actually getting 34% of block chance. Flat damage reflected to attackers, and a +1 throwing damage for shield throw per 10 damage reflected. So this also gives you, with this rule that it currently has, 11 extra flat throwing damage for shield throw. So a nice way to build around shield throw. It has needed some help for its own physical damage, so this could be pretty good for it. The Communion of the Erase. We got some new Weaver Wills items here. A new Weaver's Will item adding to a tier. Communion of the Erase doubles all stats on the belt for 1 second after using a potion, as well as grants additional potion slots for each Weaver's Will item equipped. That's interesting. So we can now get, I kind of feel like these Weaver Will items, especially if they start having affixes like that, is going to be kind of like the ancient items that you could wear with the set rings in Diablo 3, where for every ancient item you had on you, or every unique item, you'd get a bonus. So this could be a cool way to build around that. And you can see here, it gives you increased armor, % of mana spent as ward, and 12% more damage to stunned enemies. Pretty cool. I do like that stats on this item are doubled, so if you roll some really good affixes on that, and you get them doubled every time you use a potion, that could be pretty insane. I'm curious exactly how that's going to work if you roll, say, hybrid health on it, and you use a potion. Do you get, like, a ton more health for just 1 second? Interesting. I'll be curious what happens with that. And then we have Falcon Fist. Unarmed builds are always a common topic of discussion. While we don't have any core mechanics for unarmed combat, the last unarmed unique was introduced has been quite popular. And that was for the Judgment for the Hands. We have felt the Falconer had a great opportunity to add another. Synergizing with Cinder Strike and your Falcon, this new unique allows you to punch your way to victory. And it's called Falcon Fist. You get +13 Cinder Strike melee damage per level of falconry while unarmed. 4% increased Cinder Strike area per level of falconry while unarmed, and while unarmed your falcon hit grants Cinder Strike plus 4 melee damage and 1% increased area for 6 seconds. I'm assuming that's capable of continuously stacking. It also gives you plus 3 to Cinder Strike, plus 4 to falconry, 15% melee attack speed. It seems like a great scaling way to level up too, because you get it pretty early, but considering that's based on your falconry levels and this gives you plus 4 to it, that's 24 levels. Like, if I'm reading that correctly, that would mean without a weapon you would have 24 levels times the 13 flat, which is like 300 flat damage, which would be absolutely nuts. You'd have a ton of area, like 100% increased area. Dude, that seems kind of nuts. I might want to get my hands on that and try that one out for sure. Here you can see it in action. Yep, just using their fist, absolutely no weapon equipped. Interesting. Then we have the Spine of Malatros. This two-handed sword designed for Warlocks not only changes mechanics but also visuals. Spine of Malatros will replace your 𝐁𝐿onic Fissure spirits with Flame Whips and grants Flame Whips additional benefits. Ooh. Get plus 3 to fire skills, plus 2 to damage over time skills, plus 2 to acolyte skills. Whoa, I'm assuming all of those scale. So if you have 𝐁𝐿onic Fissure as fire, as damage over time, and it is an acolyte skill, you could get plus 7 levels to it. That's absolutely insane. 𝐁𝐿onic Fissures cast Flame Whip instead of releasing spirits. 𝐁𝐿onic Fissure's skill tree applies to Flame Whip from all sources. That's actually pretty nuts. 6% critical strike multiplier with Flame Whip per 10% uncapped necrotic res, and 68 flat spell damage. Dude, this is nuts. Yep, another unique I'm definitely going to want to play around with. Dude, oh my god. That's actually really sick. Those whips are pretty sick. Dude, that's going to be fun. There's no way that doesn't turn into a sweet build. The Vial of Volatile Ice. This one gives you 100% of Acid Flask base damage converted to cold, poison chance from all sources converted to frostbite for Acid Flask, 55% chance to apply frostbite on cold hit, 27% increased area for area skills, increased cold damage, and increased freeze rate multiplier. For those Acid Flask fans out there, that should be pretty fun. Good way to freeze enemies and do a nice cold dot build with frostbite. And then in closing, we're wrapping it all up, and make sure to join us tomorrow. Tomorrow they're going to be releasing the full patch notes for 1.0. Those are going to take a while to cover, but let me know in the comments below which unique was your favorite and which affix you're looking forward to the most. Tons of good options there, and I tell you what, that two-handed sword with Flame Whip looks absolutely ridiculous. I'm hoping to find that right off the bat, but that's going to be it for me. As always, stay safe, and I'll see you guys next time.